Good morning, everyone. If I could have you get in your seats here, we're about ready to get started. All right, thank you, everyone. We've got a packed house today. My name's Neil Collins. I'm your CEO here at SCORE, and I'm here to welcome you to our very last membership meeting of the year. We got a very full agenda today, so I hope you brought your notepad, your iPad, your Surface, your laptop, because there's going to be a lot of great information exchanged today. Also in front of you are applications for Realtor of the Year and Affiliate of the Year. We have a lot of great people in our association. If you could just take a couple minutes to make some nominations today before you leave, and just leave them on the table on your way out, would be greatly appreciated. Those are special awards, and we want to make sure they get in the right people's hands. So it all starts with getting nominated. They can't be considered if they're not nominated. So don't assume someone else is going to nominate them. Just take a couple minutes today. I really appreciate it. And so it is my pleasure to introduce to you your 2015 president, Mr. Craig Gorman.
Thanks, Neil. Thanks, everybody. You know, this is actually one of the greatest events to be at, mainly because of the fact that it's near the end of the year. So, you know, most of all, it's been a great year, so let's give it up for 2015. You know, I definitely also appreciate all you folks, the membership, because, you know, without you, SCORE would just be an empty building. You know, we kind of went through something this weekend, the difference between a house and a home. You know, a house is just a building. You know, a home is where there's love and family, and you folks are all family because of the fact that we're all brothers and sisters in real estate. It's a situation where we all work together. Sometimes it's a situation where there's great friendships that are made. I will get to your raviolis one of these days.
Please, don't forget.
It's only been about 15 years. It's amazing how people remember little things like that. But most of all, it is going to be a packed day, so let's go ahead and get started. What I'd like to do is bring up Dave Walsh for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Before I start, I want to share something. One of the most moving things that we just saw at the NAR meeting was a lady was brought up to lead the Pledge of Allegiance who has a son who I think he was 20 years old serving overseas. I think he was in Afghanistan, wherever he was. But the point is that she had to do the unthinkable task of sitting with her son and having him fill out his, the potential death information, like where he wants his ashes and all the things that go with anybody serving overseas. You know, when we realize that that's the ultimate check that we're asking our service people to cash, is just to potentially give everything, including their lives, for their country, and they're so willing to do it. So when you give the pledge this morning, please remember that and recognize what a tremendous country we have and the support we have with our military and our people serving our country. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. If I could, Dave, I'd like you to stay up here for some NAR stats. But you know, like Dave was talking about, the one awesome thing about this industry is the moving situations that you get to be in. And for those that were fortunate enough to be at the CBVA meeting yesterday, you know, you can tell just exactly how meeting it is. The nice thing about this industry is the fact that the amount of people that give back. You know, Dave has this little thing that he set up called the pumpkin auction that's been at BJ's for
12th one.
12th year. You know, the best part of it is the pumpkins that were made this year were made by the kids from Catherine R. Smith Elementary School that have like an average family income of about $17,000. So the school is the poorest of all schools, and the best part of it is you folks as realtors give back. And the good thing was we were able to give them a check yesterday for over $18,000. And you know, the best part was when you hear these sixth graders get up and tell how in 2025 they're going to be graduating from Stanford, and the way that they were talking about what they're going to get into. I thought there was like, you know, 28 years olds in a sixth grader's body. It was just totally amazing. But now talk about amazing. Let's find out exactly what happened in ARC. Dave, thank you.
Thanks, Craig. Okay, so we have a, so this is how it works. Okay, good. So we have a quick MLS update first. So one of the hats that I wear along with being an NAR director is I'm vice chair of your MLS listings. So I'm going to give you a quick update, and unfortunately or fortunately, most of the stuff is propaganda, so I'm going to read through it fairly fast. It's not that it's not important information, it's just not my words. But I do think it's important for you to understand the tremendous effort the MLS Listings is putting in to serve you as members of our MLS, and the technology and the changes as we unfold them. So how do I move this thing forward? Let's see here. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Oh, I can use this even better.
No, it's backward.
There we go. Look at that. Oh my God, I'm so good at this. Okay. So it doesn't. Where'd he go? Right here. Does it change in here too, or am I going to have to do this manually? No. You're multitasking me? Oh my God. Okay, great. Here we go. I should just be talking and forget this stuff. Okay, so to provide the most accurate, timely, and actual real estate information services to the brokers, agents, and consumers who support the ultimate real estate experience. This is our mantra at MLS Listings. So, and again, I don't want to sound cavalier, but the idea here is they really are committed to you. They're committed to making sure that you get the best possible service out of your MLS. MLS Listings remains committed to providing you with the best quality service, most accurate real estate information so that you are able to continue growing your business. In order to provide the ultimate in real estate experience, we are continuing to respond to your feedback and are making improvements to the platform itself. Our focus is to empower you to position yourself as an expert in your sphere of influence. We are investing in an innovation that will allow you to deliver cost-effective, fast, and comprehensive services to your clients, prospects, and give you an edge in the marketplace. Okay, let's go quick look back. All right, so if you've been around at all, you know we had problems, right? The matrix system wasn't always the most functioning. There was a whole reason behind that. Trust me, we debated this endlessly at the MLS Board of Directors. The reality was there was just some issues with the service providers, and we were stuck as your MLS with having to live with them making their adjustments and changes, but we're working that through. MLS Listings now has upgraded most everything, and we now have the availability to have a mobile platform, which we were never able to under the old system. We have listing management. We've created lots of change to the listing management system. I think personally it's much easier to use now. Hopefully you're taking advantage of that. I'm sure you're aware of the things like the coming soon, the ability to put a listing into the MLS 30 days before you actually hit the MLS. Keep it as a coming soon, and then the day you go live, you simply press one button, it becomes a live listing. Things like that. These are all technology advancements that our system has put together. The ability to do full printouts with no photos now, because people are complaining about the ink usage, et cetera, when they printed out pages and pages of photos. Now they can do it without that. So these are just some of the very simple things. And if I sound like I'm going fast, I am, because I have a lot of NAR stuff to share as well, but I do think you need to get these things through. So the changes they're making, the things they're trying to continually update, we do have to have continuous improvement. We know there's not bugs in the system, but continually demanding platforms. The data that gets given to us from multiple sources is constantly changing. And because it's constantly changing, the technology has to constantly change. This is the stuff we discuss at the MLS level, at the National Association of Realtors. We attend 3 or 4 different conferences during the year, getting input from the top 25 MLSs as well. And we recognize that this is just the tip of the iceberg. Your MLS is going to continue to change because technology is changing. Bottom line is we listen. Okay, so where do we get input? We get input from super user groups. That's the surge groups. This is made up of brokers and agents. So maybe some of you are on the SCORE version of this. Every region within the MLS has a super user group. That super user group are the people that are tasked to bring feedback, direct feedback from your systems, your offices, and give input to the MLS so we can design products and fix bugs faster. And that's been a tremendous upgrade. Customer support has been beefed up tremendously, so you get very fast response with customer support. And we're constantly looking for feedback. And we now have the ability you can go online and you can actually get into some of these portals. And the portals are if you have an idea for improving the MLS, you can actually put it in the portal. If your idea is liked by enough people, then all of a sudden, guess what? It becomes an enhancement or change to the MLS. MyTheo, you're going to see MyTheo this morning, right, Neil? You're going to love this. Well, I love this. You may not love it. I love it. So it doesn't really matter. Bottom line is, it's a great product. You're going to like it. It's an MLS benefit. It will expand your horizons and your vision for touring properties, coordinating your busy schedules, etc. You'll love the demonstration on this. You have access now, good or bad, you will have, as of December 7th, access to all the inventory in Southern California. Yikes! Okay, so that makes you a little nervous as a broker, but the reality is that 78,000 new eyeballs looking at your listings. Okay, so the partnership we formed with CRMLS allows your listings to have a lot more exposure to potential buyers in the Southern California market as they move up. So that's the idea behind it. But the opposite is true as well. You get to look at their stuff. And I'm not saying that you're not going to bring offers in Southern California, and it's whatever your broker policy is or office policy is, you need to adhere to it. But the idea is you're going to have exposure to a heck of a lot more inventory than you currently have. We have a new Homes Navigator program. Now, I think this is live. I'm not 100% sure, but your ability to go in and search new homes projects is all part of your MLS now. That's a wonderful thing because some of your clients insist on new projects. We have a new business intelligence system. This for the brokers. This is available to the brokers of the industry. And it's not individually only to the brokers, but it's people that run offices or people that need to forecast their business production. There's a business intelligence tool that's coming out. This is really amazing. So if you want to do a complete analysis on your marketplace, how you stack up as a broker, where your weaknesses are. One of the things that I saw, because I'm a beta tester of this, is I found a listing that had been out there for like 274 days. You can take that 274-day listing. Clearly, it was overpriced, by the way. You can take a look at that 274-day listing. You can find out the average of all listings in that exact real estate zone. Go back and tell your client, say, look, the average sale in this area is 72 days. This happened to be a mountain property. 72 days, you're at 274, you must get a price reduction. I mean, these type of analytic tools are very valuable to the real estate community. That's coming out. It's going to be probably released in early March of this year. On the national scene, we have lots of controversial issues coming at us from the national scene. Project Upstream. That's a way for brokers, a large group of brokers, to take their listing data, put it into one place, and then decide where it goes. So, for example, if I took a listing and I wanted it to go to, I would put it into the Project Upstream portal site, which is yet unnamed, and then I could say, you know what, I want it to go to Coldwell Banker. I don't want it to go to Alon Pinnell. Okay, kind of a scary thought, but the reality is right now it's being distributed all over the place, and we have no control. So I'm not saying they're going to pick and choose brokerages. What they will pick are good websites versus bad websites, and we know what those are. The good websites are the companies where people do have the spirit of cooperation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The bad websites are the ones that scrape your data and turn around and sell it back to you as they get leads, right? So right now we have no control over the syndication of listings. The Project Upstream, good or bad, will change that. That's going to happen in 2016 sometime. I'm not going to talk about AMP. There's so many things happening in the MLS world, you guys. It's all coming. That's going to be happening over the next couple of years. Any questions? Thank you very much. No questions. I'll move on to my NAR report. You can see what I'm really interested in, so. Okay, one of the committees, and I'm going to talk fairly fast. I will take questions at the end, but I want you to get the flavor for what we do back there. You know, we have 5 days of meetings. In those 5 days of meetings, really, it's all about governance. It's about issues that are impacting your industry. There's 3 of us from SCORE that go back to these meetings. I shouldn't say there's more than 3, but the reality is there's 3 of us have tasks for these committee tasks. One of my main committee is federal taxation. So what's on everybody's lips right now? Tax reform. Okay, if you follow any of the candidates that are running for office, they're all talking tax reform. If you talk to people running for Congress, you talk to anybody even currently in Congress, it's tax reform. Now, they aren't saying the tax reform is going to happen in 2016, so don't panic. But that's because it's election year. Okay, so it'll happen in 2017, probably 18. And what are the targets? The obvious targets, right? 1031 exchanges, mortgage deductibility, and capital gains treatment, right? So these are issues that are going to be talked about. This is what we discussed at that committee. So we have lots of presentations. We've seen some pretty scary stuff that are being proposals coming forward in the legislative side of things, but I want you to hear me very clearly. It's not going to happen in 2016. It's not going to happen probably even in 2017. This is we are talking tax reform is coming. There's 50 or so expired tax provisions currently. These are the things like the debt forgiveness for modified loans, et cetera, and things like this. These are all languishing in Congress right now. They expired at the beginning of 2015. They haven't been renewed. The answer is they're going to be renewed. We just don't know when they're going to be renewed. And the guess is either the late part of 2015, which we have 1 entire month left to do that, or sometime in 2016 they'll be made retroactive to the beginning of 2015. So they're not saying these tax provisions are going to be gotten rid of. It just means that they're going to be reevaluated one by one and then put together in attached to a large bill and then passed. There's something called the Marketplace Fairness Act. Now this impacts us because we're Silicon Valley and we are what we are. But what is Marketplace Fairness Act? It's about taxing online sales. So currently, the current law says that if there's a brick and mortar building or warehouse for, let's say, Amazon in the state of California, then anybody who buys something through Amazon must pay sales tax, right? If there's no brick and mortar building, and you're buying something on the East Coast, for example, and they're out of Maine, then you don't pay sales tax currently. Well, the problem is that that's a $4 billion loss to the states every year, $4 billion tax loss. So Congress is going to move this forward. It's not, and I'm not saying it's going to happen in 2016, but this is what they're looking at to level the playing field. Now, why is that important? Because when states and communities don't have enough tax dollars coming in, then they look to real estate. They look to taxing homeowners, right? And the reality is, the reason the NAR backs this legislation, or this pending legislation, is because we need to level the playing field. We think, and I think you probably would agree, that it's not fair to constantly look to homeowners to tax them to support communities and infrastructures and retail sales places that can no longer compete with online retailers. So again, it's just called the Marketplace Fairness Act. It's coming. It's not actually it's working its way through the system, is the best way to put it. Okay, a lot of talk on independent contractor status. Now you've heard, I'm guessing you've all heard about the pending litigation about independent contractor status. Well, this was from a different twist. This is the IRS looking at it's called Section 3508 of the IRS code, and are they looking to target the independent contractor status? And the answer is no. Okay, so they have come out and said that we're not looking to get rid of independent contractor status for real estate specifically. It doesn't mean they won't change their mind on it, but right now there is nothing in their bailiwick that they're looking at to kind of challenge us on that. But it will be decided probably more realistically from the litigation. Okay, I talked about tax reform, GSE reform. Okay, the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. All right, we need a secondary mortgage market. That's what Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac are, right? So there's been a lot. They went into receivership several years ago. we taxpayers footed that bill. That was $180 billion bill that we taxpayers bailed Fannie and Freddie out for. Well, since then, Fannie and Freddie have been quite profitable because guess what? There's virtually no mortgage defaults anymore. Okay, and they're making lots of money. They're making $10 billion a quarter right now. Okay, so they have paid off the entire $80 billion debt to the Treasury. So now they're profitable. So now there's been a lot of interest in Congress getting rid of Fannie and Freddie, which could put a hiccup into our industry, but now they're so profitable, maybe they're thinking this is a very interesting paycheck we're getting on a quarterly basis. Maybe we'll just leave it alone. So that may be a good thing, but then again, Congress tends to mess with everything anyway, so we'll see what happens. HR 3700, FHA reform. This is a very interesting one, and I'll see if the actual FHA commissioner, or actually assistant commissioner or vice commissioner, spoke at NAR and said that we realize there's a problem with condos and recertification process. So 2 proposals, and that I'm contesting 2 out of like 50 different proposals of this bill, HR 3700, is to drop owner occupancy requirements down to 35%, and to incredibly streamline the recertification process. So in a matter of months, you can get a recertification versus a matter of years, and it doesn't have to be done every 2 years, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So major step forward for FHA if we can get this through. Okay, I'm going to talk about the economy because the economy is one of the fun things I get to hear when I attend all the presentations on that. So Moody Analytics, we've heard of Moody Analytics, did a presentation, interesting slide showing the national economy. There were 3.1 million jobs added in 2014, with 2.1 million projected for 2015. We will end the year at a 5.5% unemployment rate. The real rate, though, what they call the U6 rate, is actually over 10% unemployment. Now, that's more accurately called underemployment. So you take the unemployment number of 5.5% and you add the 5% or so underemployed. What's an underemployed person? Someone who doesn't get 40 hours. Would love to work 40 hours, but can't get 40 hours. Gets 24 hours, whatever it happens to be. That's called underemployed. So where is that workforce? They said that 4.8% of that extra 5% are millennials. Millennials who graduated college and cannot get work in their field of graduation. So who's our next buying source coming down the pike? Millennials. You see how it all ties in. Okay, there's an average of 18 million, those of you with kids at home, you can listen to this, 18 million 18 to 35-year-olds lived with their parents before the recession began. That went up to 32 million in 2012 and has just now started to go the other direction. So if they're starting to move out, let them go. Okay, especially the 35-year-olds, they need to get out. Okay, but what does this mean really? This is called household formation, right? What we look at in this industry is people, new tenants coming into the marketplace, and household formation. Young people starting their own households. So this trend is started to reverse. Again, it's not going to happen overnight, but it's going the right direction finally. Okay, so this is not bad news. It's just called reality. A rise in mortgage rates caused the last slowdown in housing sales. We will be seeing 10 to 12 rate increases in the future months as the Fed increases their rates. Okay, so that's all they're saying. It's not going to, doesn't mean that they're 0.5% rate increases. They're probably a lot on this, more on the 1/8 side, but the fact of life is mortgage rates are going to increase. Mortgage credit, this is good news. Mortgage credit will remain tight, but there is reason to believe that they will be loosening it soon. The purpose of the FICO scores, the purpose of the FICO scores the lenders use so widely is to determine the possibility of the borrower defaulting on their debt. And as I said earlier, there's simply very few defaults right now. So there's virtually no defaulting going on right now, so they're recalculating the formulas they're using to compile the FICO scores, which should result in a softening of credit standards. Now there's more people who will be able to buy houses. Existing homeowners are choosing also not to tap into their equity. Remember in the olden days, like 5 years ago, we had everybody getting lines of credit, right? And they were using their houses as ATM machines, etc. Well, they're not doing that anymore. Well, I shouldn't say they're not doing it anymore. They're not doing it as much anymore. So the charts they're showing us are showing that their equity is rising in houses. They're not getting seconds. They're not taking the credit out. But what does that really translate into? What it translates into is people staying in their houses. Okay, so when I started 36 years ago in this business, the average turnover time for a seller was 4 years. Then it went to 7 years. Then it went to 10 years. Now it's 16 years. Wow. So the average length that someone owns a home is now 16 years before they sell it. Okay, now I also heard from Joel Singer, the CEO of CAR, that California is even higher than that, 19 years. So again, this is data that is just now starting to emerge, but the reality is that as people are becoming more conservative, they're not over-encumbering their properties anymore, everybody's getting healthy financially, they're simply not necessarily selling their houses anymore, which is part of our inventory control problem. Student debt is off the chart, right? So student debt says, majority of student debt is held by people under 44, which makes perfect sense to me. But it's also the prime demographic of the home buyer. So when you recognize people are graduating college with 50% encumbrance of their student debt, so the 50% of their salary is their student debt. So the reality is that that's impacting their ability to actually buy things. Lifetime wealth is at an all-time high. You didn't know that, did you? Lifetime wealth is at an all-time high, but it really is. And why is that? It's because the stock market's virtually doubled in recent years. Now the problem is only 10% of the nation owns stock. So as you're seeing, and as our clientele base, quite frankly, is, they're doing quite well. The rest of the nation, not so much. They're still in recession type modes. And by the way, just as a sidelight, one of the reports that I was recently exposed to, we don't have short sales and foreclosures, quite frankly, in Santa Clara County anymore. I mean, it's infinitesimal. That's a percentage of our available inventory, et cetera. Would you know that other areas of the nation that they're rising? Short sales and foreclosures are actually on the rise. Even in the middle of this economy that we're experiencing, one area in Wisconsin went from 16% in the heyday of the 2008-2009 market up to 31% today. So again, we have a wonderful world here in Silicon Valley. You know, we are very fortunate. Our clients are very fortunate. Reality is the rest of the nation, not so much. Let's see. Current homeownership rate, 50-year low, 63.5%. 83% of Americans believe it is a good financial decision to own a home, yet the homeownership rate will continue to decline due to the household formation being mostly tenants. That's what's happening with household formation. There is hope, though. 91% of 18 to 24-year-olds polled have a strong desire to own a home. 91%. FSBOs are collapsing. This is a really interesting one. Okay, anybody heard something called the Google bump? Okay, there's actually these theories out there, right? So they showed us this whole slide presentation on what's called the Google bump. Well, they showed us a slide of a cafeteria at Google. And if you imagine, flash back to your middle school days, when you had to eat in the cafeteria and all those little tables were crammed into one small room and all the chairs were like packed in and you tried to get as many kids as you possibly could into the cafeteria. And that resulted in chairs being back to back to back. So when you got out of your chair, you bumped the guy behind you. Well, that's what the Google bump is all about. So Google has set up their cafeteria the exact same way. Why? Because they have figured out that the only way, there's 52 muscles or 42 muscles, 42 facial muscles in the average human being. I guess all human beings, but there's no such thing as an average human being. 42 facial muscles in human beings. And we learn at a young age to read those facial muscles. So what they found is the way they build trust in Google amongst all the engineers who aren't necessarily socially always interacting is to put their chairs so close together in the cafeteria so they actually have to talk to people when they get out of their chairs. That's called the Google bump. So what does this study come out and say? It's saying that for sale by owners are declining because they're data-based. They can get their information off the internet, but it takes so much trust to buy and sell houses today. It is a face-to-face, belly-to-belly business once again. And that's why the ability to sell your house as a for sale by owner is actually declining based on the Google bump. Just a theory, but I thought it was a good one. Okay, let's see. The last one is just politics, okay? I know I'm going to wrap up real quick here. So one of the presentations was fabulous. It was from Charlie Cook. Charlie Cook is, I think, a national syndicated columnist, and he spent his 3-hour, 2.5-hour period, whatever it was, talking about the presidential election and all the various candidates, all the inside Washington Beltway gossip on each of these people, and he actually came out and said who he thinks is going to be the president of the United States. And I'm not going to tell you because I'll tell you who it is. No, but I want to build a little bit more of this, by the way. He said that realistically, and I'm not trying to downgrade in these politicians, but Donald Trump and Ben Carson will cancel each other out. They have already peaked in their followings. Their followings are the disgruntled Americans who hate Washington, right? And Donald Trump followers are not the same followers as Ben Carson. They're completely polar opposites. So if one of them was to fall out of the way, they're not going to pick up the other person's clientele because they don't like each other. Donald Trump's people don't like Ben Carson people. Ben Carson people don't. So they're not players anymore. So what does that leave? They're professional politicians. The two professional politicians that are going to rise, Cruz and Rubio. Okay, so Cruz and Rubio have very similar backgrounds. Both Cuban, both 45 years old, both have the ability to attract the under 45 vote and the Latino vote, in theory, right? Which is two of the major factors that Obama got to get him elected. Now, Hillary is going to be 69, I think it is, or she is 69, going to be 70, whatever it happens to be by the time she's eligible. So the general consensus is that they're going to have enough steam from the under 45-year-old vote, the Latino vote, and the Republican vote, depending on which side of the bench you want to fall on, the conservative Republicans or the not so conservative Republicans, to be able to carry the day. So his theory was we're going to have a Republican president at the end of the day. For what that's worth. Okay. Now I'm not saying that's good or bad. All I'm saying is that was his theory, but he's the inside Washington Beltway. And that is your NAR update. Any questions real quick? I'm just telling you what he said. Don't shoot the messenger. And with that, Craig, I'm done.
Dave, thank you very much. Always a wealth of knowledge. Speaking of wealth of knowledge, the next person, not quite as tall as Dave, but it's amazing. Even for his shortness, it's amazing how much information he brings. Carl San Miguel, he's our 2015 CAR Regional Chair.
So, thank you. So speaking of that, speaking of that Google bump, I was in traffic the other day, texting and driving at the same time, and it happened. So I bumped the car in front of me. I rolled the window down and said, "Google bump." How are ya? It works. All right. So last month in October, those of you who took advantage of it, congratulations, because there was a wealth of information there. But we also, in addition to the convention, we had a conference. And for Santa Clara County Association, we have about 24 state directors. Now, 24 out of about 850 statewide directors, out of about 180,000 members to CAR. So you look at that, that's not a large number from the standpoint of representation, but we do the best we can. So it's about a 3.5 day of meetings that we take on, and I just want to talk about some of those committees that we're involved in. And that is, there are 37 standing committees in the state association. And of that, also 16 forums and 2 task force. Now, they cover political action, issues action, which is things that you're voting on in your community, formal housing, standard forms, expo, professional standard, taxation and government finance, legal action, property management, strategic planning, local government, transaction, regulatory, land use environment, MLS, defense strategy, member legal service, membership, business technology, legislative, federal, communications, risk management, scholarships, commercial alliance, global real estate, research, housing affordability fund, to just name a few of the committees that we attend and report on and actually dialogue in, representing our association of approximately 200 members here. Now, of all those committees, we certainly do address, just like Dave alluded to earlier, from the standpoint of legislation that affects not only us in the business, but our clients. So I'm going to touch on a couple of those legislative items from a statewide standpoint of how it affects us and what we're doing. Have any of you heard of companion animals? Okay, so companion animals are becoming somewhat of a problem, especially for property managers who manage property, or for you individuals that are fortunate enough to own property that you rent out. So CAR is sponsoring legislation acknowledging companion animals, but it requires that if you are going to have a companion animal, then it requires a prescription from your doctor. Because there are some people that claim companions. And I want to tell you, there's some really weird people out there. And they talk about, the snakes. One actually had a camel in their house. One was affectionate to their plants to the extent that they watered it so much that it complicated on the unit below them, and they wouldn't stop. And they were saying that was a companion plant. So we're dealing with the companions. Environmental hazard booklets, we're sponsoring legislation to extend that also to landlords. The liability protection when you give them that handbook reduces that. Inclusionary zoning, that affects us here in San Jose. There was a court case which involved inclusionary zoning, which basically, if you all are familiar with that, tells a new development that they have to set aside a certain amount of units for below market, whether it's a rent or for sale. Now, when you sell something below market, perhaps sometimes that below market means below cost. And so somebody has to pay that. And typically, what happens on inclusionary zoning, the someone that has to pay it are the other buyers, because it drives their price up higher. So that's why we're vehemently against inclusionary zoning, because it really causes the cost of property to actually increase for the few that it actually helps. So San Jose is currently, the state Supreme Court ruled against the builders, and the builders brought that action. So I think they're going to bring that before the U.S. Supreme Court. Now, Dave alluded to this one earlier from a standpoint of independent contractors cases, and there's a Barasani versus Coldwell Banker, which was actually a lawsuit on independent contractors stating that they were owed money because of they wanted actually hourly wages. So that case was settled, but there are several other cases that may in fact affect us. Now, Uber, if you've read the newspapers of lately, had a case on whether their drivers were independent contractors or employees. And Uber lost out on that from the standpoint of independent contractors. So what does that mean to us? We have a cutout. Ever since 1913, when the income taxes were installed, we had a cutout from the get-go that we were independent contractors, so therefore there was no withholding. So if this independent contractor gets passed, what this really means from a standpoint of not being claimed as independent contractor means that you are subject to not only whatever provided by that company, but also hourly wage. So the makeup of the agents within these real estate offices will drastically change from the standpoint that if that broker who hires you is going to require that you produce, because they're going to pay you based on an hourly wage for 40 hours. Now, currently in California, our minimum wage is, I believe, $9 an hour. And there is a push, and actually all the cities are really dealing with minimum wage from the standpoint of raising it to 15. I hear some are 19. So if you can imagine, we are plugged into that category of employed individuals, your broker is going to have a different attitude about your sales production, because it's going to be very costly to keep you on board, and that will drastically change the makeup of our industry, our profession. So we're on top of this. We're watching it close, and God bless organized real estate for being there, because I tell you, if we weren't there, life would be a whole lot different for us. So remember that when you pay your dues. And also remember that when there's an opportunity to actually step up and pay $149 towards your political action, because it's very, very important. Professional Standards would like to amend its ethics discipline publication to specify the photos of members found in violation of Code of Ethics will be removed from the CAR website within 3 years. So currently, once your face is put on there, it's there forever. So what this is proposing, look, after 3 years, you don't have to have that picture in there, your violation publicized. It's not necessary. Affordability. There is an affordable housing task force at the state level that is addressing affordability, and affordability is very important to our profession because it's kind of a step up. It's a stepping stone to buy a single family detached or a higher priced property. So people have to start somewhere. One thing that occurred in the last 3 years, actually 2013, when Governor Brown killed RDA statewide, that's a redevelopment agency. Of that RDA, there was part of that program. And by the way, RDA was around since about 1959, long time. And they even understood back in 1959 that affordability is important. So they had an element of the RDA that addressed affordable housing. So if you're familiar with RDA, when a property is developed, the property taxes drastically change. I can cite you one example in Morgan Hill, a development that was 5 acres with a farmhouse on it, paying $8,700 a year for property taxes. Sold it to a developer who developed 25 homes on there, and the property taxes changed from $8,700 to $226,000. So that's a huge increase. And of that development, can you imagine this? If we just brought that 20% element back of the RDA to go toward affordable housing, how that would help us, because that's why we get all this taxing on recording fees to go toward affordable housing, parcel tax. They're making the select few pay for everyone. So this is actually a method of establishing a revenue source for affordable housing that doesn't hurt anybody. Because everybody understands when you buy a property, your taxes are going to be based on the sales price at 1%. That's what it is, 1%. Of course, you have bonds and assessments that are at it. That's why we get the 1.25. But basically, your property taxes are 1% with a 2% inflation factor every year. So we're bringing that forward next year, and hopefully that will get some legs, and that will come to fruition, and we'll get something done next year on affordable housing. Now, there are about 64 bills that we're tracking in Sacramento. And also, I think Dave alluded to this one earlier, from the standpoint of property taxes and doing well, actually, this is more of a split roll, where residential and commercial are divided from the standpoint of how they're treated on assessed value. Whereas residential will continue to have their protection of the 2% inflation per year, but commercial will be stripped away of that. There was actually a bill that addresses that, and so it's reality. It's there. I want to tell you from the standpoint, because you're going to hear this a lot out there, perhaps even next year, because it's on everybody's mind from the standpoint of creating more revenue. The common theme is to say that commercial real estate doesn't pay their fair share of taxes. Now, I don't know if you believe that much or not, but I want to bring to you the facts. And the fact is this: commercial real estate in the state of California represents, on a parcel level, all the total parcels out there, which is over 13 million. Did you? Okay. Commercial real estate represents less than 8% of the total parcels in the state. So when they say that the commercial real estate is not paying their fair share, they're only less than 8%. What do you expect? So it's a fallacy to say that they're not paying their fair share. They are, just as we are. And the Prop 13 is a valuable source of income to the state, and also a barometer from a standpoint of not overly charging us on property taxes. Remember, the reason Prop 13 came into place is because property taxes were going up and up and up. And they used to be close to 3% of the value of that property prior to Prop 13. So now, are you curious as to what is the total assessed value in the state of California on property taxes? How much that makes up of the state budget? Let me give you some facts on that. In the year 2010, the assessed value of property in the state of California was about $2.2 trillion. In 2010, it went to $4.3 trillion. Now, 2008, 2009, everybody was saying the property values went down. We had this, not according to this, they actually went up because development continued to happen, is number one. Now, today, what is the assessed value in California? About 4.9 trillion. A little shy of 5 trillion. We expect to exceed 5 trillion next year. Now, that translates into $50 billion going to the state just on real estate. That doesn't count income tax, corporate tax, and everything else the state gets, the sales tax it gets from everybody. So they have money. So those are some important factors to remember from the standpoint the state is not hurting. They're having record amounts of income coming in. So with that, I think that's going to complete my report on the statewide level of California Association of Realtors. I have enjoyed representing this association as their regional chair. And next year is, hey, Byron, you're back there. Byron Bottom-Rankfield, account. He's going to take over this position next year. He's going to do a wonderful job. So, all right, Craig, thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Carl. In fact, what I'd like to do is give a big hand for Carl and Dave. You know, both these gentlemen travel. We pretty much travel all over the U.S., going to different meetings to bring back different information, to actually be there and actually be our word there fighting for us. And, you know, once again, if we didn't have that happen, we wouldn't be here. Or we'd be here, but we'd be here for nothing because we wouldn't have a business to go to. What I'd also like to do is also thank at this point, too, our featured sponsors, because the same thing, without them, we wouldn't be here as well. And Josh Reuter from Off Price Carpet.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thanks for having me. Some great information here, so I'm going to be real quick. Hopefully I'm going to be known to a lot of you as the flooring guy. I recognize some faces here, but even better, there's some faces I don't recognize. So I'd love to meet some of you. Just real quick, what do we do? Obviously, we're a flooring store. You clients, when you get a listing, it might be $1 million home, but it might not look like $1 million on the inside. We can help. We're uniquely set up. We're here in the Bay Area. We service the whole Bay. We try to keep a lot of stuff in stock, so it keeps the prices down, and it makes it a little bit quicker. But the main thing we're offering, is just exclusive to SCORE members, is paying out of escrow. Once again, we might have $1 million house, but the clients might not have $1 million in the bank. But once they sell that house, they're going to be a little more well off, and we'll be happy to wait for that event to get paid. So hopefully that's just a few things that we do. There's more, but like I said, there's some good stuff you guys are gonna be hearing later, so I'll let you get to that. I'm gonna be in the back in my booth. If you have any questions or you want a card or you just want some more information, I'd love to talk to you. Once again, Josh, the flooring guy. Thank you.
All right.
Josh, thank you very much. I'd also like to bring up Anna Lopez from Wells Fargo.
Good morning, everyone. How are you guys today? Good. Oh my gosh. No, I want to hear great. Can I get a big old great? How are you guys today? Great. All right. Well, with Wells Fargo, we are so proud to be with SCORE for so many reasons. And mostly the reason is that SCORE really gives you guys knowledge to help improve your business and educate your consumers. And we at Wells Fargo does the same thing. We want to help you to let your consumer knows what's best out there. So make it really short. We only have 2 minutes. Melissa Drago is my counterpart, where our office is right next door. And we just want to give you 2 things that's different about Wells Fargo. I know you have many lenders and banks you can choose to work with, and I hope that you give us a chance to work with us and get to know us. So one of the main items that Wells Fargo launched this year that made a huge difference in our industry is a loan tracker. How many of you have phones like me? I hope all of you guys raise your hand, right? So many of our consumer has always said, I want to know my loan progress. I want to see where we are at in the terms of appraisals and approvals and everything else. Well, they would have to call loan officers before to get to know this information. Well, we introduced something called a loan tracker. A loan tracker is a 24/7 information where a client can have transparency to know all the stages of their loan, but most importantly, they can do it on their cell phone by looking at it, on their tablets, and also on their PC 24/7, right? And here's another thing that's very important. How many of you have done loans and you get a lot of documents you have to send in? A lot, right? We ask for everything except for your firstborn. So what we have featured is they can actually take a picture and download it into our secure system, and that's how they upload documents to us. Make it fast, efficient, and easy. That's great news, right? And the other part I want to share with you is a special product that we have that is really going to help your consumer here in Santa Clara County. And it's called our 89.99% loan to value. And Melissa's going to give you a quick synopsis of what it is. And by the way, we'll be at the back with our carpet gentleman over there. So definitely talk to us. We have suppliers for you. Thank you so much. And here's Melissa.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. So just real quick, I'm sure you're not here to hear credit underwriting guidelines, and nor do you want to hear them, but wanted to make you aware that we actually, thank you for Dave for segueing it, but banks are starting to get a little bit more, not, I won't say flexible or easy, but we're looking for more opportunities to lend to qualified borrowers. So we do have a program where you can do 10.01% down payment on non-conforming with no mortgage insurance. This is huge. So in many cases, people are putting that 10.01% down. They're saving that the rest of the money in reserves. You can actually find a higher purchase price for your clients and look at a larger range of homes. So it's a great opportunity for you as an agent to present more homes to your client. And for us, it's a good opportunity to lend to people who have strong credit and strong income. Again, we're not going to go into the underwriting guidelines here, but talk to us about what it takes, because it's not for everyone, but it is for the people that we want to make sure that we can lend to. So strong income, strong credit, and for people that can put 10.01, that 01 is really critical, % down payment.
No PMI, guys. Yes.
No PMI. Yeah.
Amazing. Talk to us.
We actually own and will portfolio these loans. So Wells Fargo is doing the underwriting, we're doing the exceptions, and we're the ones that are going to hold on to it. So thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Now we have money to give to our clients to buy homes, and we have carpet to take care of the homes to make sure they sell at top dollar. What else could we ask for? Now comes my favorite part of this meeting. Because this is the time that I get to congratulate the people that have been hanging around here for a while, and for some of us, the while's been a long time. But on behalf of the Santa Clara County Association of Realtors, I'd like to congratulate the the people that are going to be calling up for their seasoned career in real estate. And best of all, they're still here. They're walking and talking, and so they've made it through all the years. So a lot of the new people in real estate wonder, how am I going to make it? Just look at the people that are coming up here, follow them, give them a call, take them out to lunch. They'll tell you how they did it. Most of all, it's the proud members like you folks that have the dedication and service to make the real estate profession what realtors is really a cherished brand. The Santa Clara County Association of Realtors recognizes you for many years of loyalty and commitment to the real estate industry. Your high principles, professional conduct, and dedicated service have proven you to be an asset to the real estate community. What I'd like to do first is the following people, if you could please come forward as I call your name. The best part too with most of these are friends of mine that I've hung out with for all these years as well. So it's nice to be congratulating them today. Gloria Ashton, you can please come forward. We have something for you. Roland Edberg, Stanley Chen, Julian Deaton, Brian Folden, Miss Pamela Foley, Donald Jensen, Mr. Ronald Koyman, and my good Goomba from years ago. In fact, it's kind of surprising. You live in Southern California, you escape to Northern California, you think you can start all over again, and nobody there knows you. But surprisingly enough, Fred Lettenberger. We followed each other from LA and still following. Mr. David Lindsay, Stephanie Pham, Ubinder, Alan Pippert, my good compadre, Goomba, Mr. Joey Polifoni, John Spengberg, Sal Spinola, and Renee, I hope I'm not butchering the last name, Uguia? Yeah. And the same way what they did there, but it's over 25 to 30.
Yeah.
But the good thing is you get to come back next year.
Yeah.
We're gonna take a group shot.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Okay, just kind of run it then.
All right, if you have your certificate, let's line you up over here, and then those who are
Well, while they're pulling forth for their certificates, let's congratulate these people for having 25 years or over.
Can I ask everybody to come together for that Kodak moment?
Yeah.
A little closer together would be great.
We'll get the short people in front and the tall people in back. Well, if you're over 30, we have that coming up.
Okay, I'm not.
Come on, guys, make it down just like high school reunion.
Okay, so you're coming in the next.
Greg, you want to jump in there in the middle somewhere?
Go on. Go for it. Go in the front.
Just separate it, yeah.
You didn't know there were so many seniors here.
Yeah, hey.
okay, let's pull them in. How you want us?
You don't have your 25
Okay, ready? One camera. Bobby.
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3.
Great. Thank you very much.
You know, as you can see by the size of the group this morning, it just goes to show that there is longevity in this business. Now I'd like to call the people that have, well, 30 years or over, but basically it's 30 years, between 30 and 34 years. So, Ponciano Alvarez, Alan Asari, Susan Fick, my good buddy Jorge. Sorry, we don't have the raviolis, but we'll give you a certificate. And it's good portion ravioli.
Is that the chili grace stick? That's yours.
Tasneem, and then my good bud Linda Shapsky.
Ellen, thank you. Ready, guys? 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Hold them up. Hold them all up. There we go. Nice. 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations.
Good job.
Thank you very much. Okay. Would you think there'd be people around here longer than 30 years? Yeah. You're right. And it's my honor to call these people up. Jerry Diaz. Nasrul Hassimi. Kurt Keegan. Kenneth Lee. This next one, you know, I'm so honored, mainly because of the fact that when you get to work with someone that's been around so long, they're just a wealth of knowledge. It's always nice to, when you can't come up with an answer, to have someone that you can. Ms. Carolyn Schulte, Mary Jane Souza, and our own Douglas Tobin. If you can please come forward.
Thank you so much. Jerry, you're awake? One big family. There we go. Here we go, guys. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good job. Hey, Doug.
You know what's really amazing to me? I'm looking at this piece of paper and I'm seeing that there's people that even been around here even longer than that. In fact, I mentioned this next group has probably been around longer than possibly some of the people in this room may have been here on this earth. But that's just great. When I was talking about in the beginning, the people that you want to take to lunch, the people you want to follow and ask them how they've done it, these are the people especially you want to do because of the fact that they've been 40 years or longer. Ms. Diana McClure, Frank Morales, and Ollie. My pleasure. Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Beautiful. Thank you.
You know what they say? It's amazing how many people just got right out of high school, but some people must have started maybe in elementary school straight into real estate. You know, one of the best parts with being a realtor nowadays, and especially with being tied into the Santa Clara County Association, is we have this little thing called the foundation. And the best part about the foundation is just amazing on the things that we're doing. So, you know, the good thing is if you happen to be a door knocker like myself and somebody happens to say, gosh, can't you leave me alone? I don't want to buy my home. I don't want to sell my home. Hey, you know, let people know that we do more than just sell real estate. You know, the season's coming now where it's the end of the year. There's a lot of cold homeless people. Well, there's different programs that are going to help collect clothes and even funds for them. But best of all, I want to bring up Gustavo Gonzalez, who leads our foundation. He'll tell you all the great things that we're doing.
I can't say how lucky I am to serve as the foundation chair, not for just 1 year, but for 2. So I need to thank all of you for giving me your trust to do that. It's been a real pleasure. My chairmanship is coming to an end here shortly. And so who are we? Who are we? The foundation. I tell everybody that we are the heart of the industry. We're out there trying to do what we can for those less fortunate in our business. So I want to thank all of you in advance for all your donations, times, and energy that you've given to our foundation. And I want to, at this point, thank those members on our foundation that have worked so hard to raise money for those less fortunate. So if you're in the foundation, please stand up so you can be recognized. Please stand up. So look around. These individuals that are standing have worked tirelessly to raise money for our community. Thank you very much for your leadership and your continued leadership. We on the foundation, we've sort of transformed ourselves. When I came on, the VP of our association automatically chaired this foundation. Well, when I did it, I said, what? And I looked around and I had to learn everything from scratch and said, well, if we really want to be a strong foundation, we really should increase our leadership capabilities by having a leadership opportunity for folks that are in the foundation to grow. And that's what we did. So we did that. We formed new bylaws. We have 3 subcommittees right now. We have a grant review committee that reviews all our grants. We have a marketing committee that's trying to get the word out. And we also have an events committee. So we have a lot going on in our foundation now. I want to tell you, we've given to a lot of organizations, over 50,000 this year. Thank you very much. But one of the ones that I really enjoyed giving to is called Love Twice. They give money to single moms, moms that can't afford to buy clothes for their infant babies. And they create these boxes where they have clothes from infant to 1 year old. That's where your money is going, you guys, to organizations like that. Catherine R. Smith, we mentioned, $18,000 check this year. That's going to elementary kids where they're going to schools in the most difficult, challenging places that we live in the valley here. Envision is a homeless organization that we are supporting. As a matter of fact, after this meeting, we're going to go deliver some turkeys and a check to them. Once again, this is your money at work, you guys. So that brings me to the $1 million challenge. What is that? So we, on the foundation, have lost our minds and said, we're going to raise $1 million for the homeless here in the valley. So we could do this, guys. How do we do this? We have over 5,000 members in our association. If all of you guys gave a whopping $165, we get to $1 million. But I expect all of us to do something else. So let me start with a video here about homelessness. We're going to meet Zach. Chaz, I'm sorry. He's a homeless kid that lives here in the Bay Area. And here we go.
He's changed dramatically since he's been out here. Like, I completely, night and day changed. He's the youngest one out here. And he hangs out with a lot of adults, but I'll tell you what, he knows more than a kid, any other kid his age would know, or will know, you know what I mean? Because he had to grow up in a different way.
Homelessness is almost like a race, in that there's certain prejudices about people that are from a particular race, or there are people that are prejudiced because of people's social economic status. The same thing is happening to homelessness.
I get looked at like I'm only 16. You're just some kid. I get told that every day. You're just some kid. I'm just some kid. I'm just some kid that done it all. What do you say to people when they say that? I think that they think they know everything. They think that they know everything, And I say, well, I come from a place where age don't matter. Age is the last thing I worry about. Age, what the fuck is age?
Everybody looks at me as a criminal because I'm homeless. But I'm really just some 16-year-old that just wants to succeed in life.
Okay, this is real. This is happening here in our valley that we call the Silicon Valley, the Hearts of Delight. We have this problem. God forbid it's one of my kids. I have 3, right? Or one of your kids or grandkids or cousins or aunts or uncles. So what can we do about this? Well, we can help because we're realtors and we've got big hearts. Not only can we have those that have 10% down payments, but those that have a pavement to sleep on, right? How do we do this? Well, we've hired a company called Fill My Fund to help us do a crowdsourcing website. And I'm going to pull this up. Let's see, where did it go? Santa Clara County Fill My Fund. Here we go. So for those of you that have 30 agents or less in your office, this is the website that you would go to. You'd go to realtorshelpinghomeless.com, and that's where you can donate right there. You're $165. If I scroll down right here, you can see that we've raised $30,450 from this one website alone, and I'll talk about the others that we have out there. But if you click on Contribute Now, you're good to go right there. Now, this website is really easy to put on your email signature line. So on my email signature line, I say, please help me raise $1 million for the homeless. Go to www.realtorshelpinghomeless.com and donate today. All of us can do that on our emails, all of us. And trust me, I've raised a couple of $1,000s from people just clicking on my link and donating. That's how easy this can be. This also shows all of our clients and everybody that we work with that we care about the homeless. And we're asking them to help us get to $1 million. So you can go to this website. You can send your clients to this website. You can put that little tagline right there. All of those things help. So if you are an agent that belongs to one of the larger real estate firms, they have their own site for the most part. The majority of them do, not all of them. So let me just scroll over here and show you your sites. So we have one for Keller Williams. We have one for Coldwell Banker. We have one for Alon Pinnell. We have one for Sereno Group. And right now, out of those 4 large firms, Sereno Group is really tearing it up with over $27,000 raised. Now, let me just say this. Once we get to $100,000, the foundation is going to match that first $100,000. So we'll move up to $200,000 just like that. So I really need all of you to help us at least get to 100, you guys, so we can get to that 200,000. Now that money is your money, by the way. It's all of your money that we've raised over the years. We've decided this is such an important cause. That's what we're going to do with that money. So I can't thank you enough to help us get there. www.realtorshelpinghomeless.com. $500,000 is going to Stand Up for Kids, which is going to help Chaz out. That's a organization that helps homeless children here in the Valley. The other $500,000 is going to Family Supportive Housing. And they also are the last space that people can go ask families to stay together from a homeless shelter. So how else can you help? You can help by joining our committee. How many of you guys want to join the foundation? Raise your hand. Well, if you do, come see me and give me your business cards. We'd love for you to help us get to $1 million and help us even do more in the future. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you, Gustavo. You know, one thing you can definitely see, and I'd like to give it up for Gustavo, you can see the passion that he has for helping out people, and that's exactly what we need. So, Gustavo, thank you very much. You know, while we're thanking different groups for being here, for their dedication and service, there's one group that's very important and very dear to me, because I'm going to be a member of it soon. And that's the past president group. Would all the past presidents for SCORE please stand? Let's give this group a big hand. You know, some people were dedicated so much for serving, like Mr. Carl San Miguel, that he actually did it twice. So a big thanks for that. And now I'd like to introduce Neil, who's going to give information on the new MyTheory app.
Actually, I'm going to invite Dan to the stand here, and he's actually going to give. He's one of the developers of this app. This is a new free service through MLS, and I think you're going to be really interested. Thanks.
Morning. I'm Dan Bremer, one of the. Let's see if I can do this while I'm. We'll jump right over to it. Beautiful, thanks. So I'm Dan Bremer. I'll be quick here. I'm one of the founders of a company called PO. I was a real estate agent up in San Francisco for 7 years. It was actually 4 of us who founded the company. We were all agents. 2 of the guys are still practicing with the Civic Union. And frankly, we just wanted to build tools that we wish we had when we were practicing agents. Our clients have all the cool mobile stuff, and we were still using stapled PDFs to tour properties and going to cancel tours and going to the wrong houses and finding out they were under contract. So as Neil mentioned, Neil was quick. We've rolled out in all of MLS listings, all 8 associations. You can see it up on the screens. If there's one thing to write down, it's feoplatform.com. This is a free member benefit that's offered you guys courtesy of MLS Listings, Inc. And really, it's all about touring. I'm going to use a laptop here, but it looks great on any device, right? An iPhone, an Android, a tablet, what have you. And even if you're even daring to do it, you can actually just go ahead and create your account while I'm doing this little thing. It's really easy. You just need your MLS ID and the email address that Santa Clara would have on file for you. So I'm just going to log in very quickly. Bless you. Do it right here. We'll see what it does. So you log in, and this is really about touring effectively, right? It's not rocket science. This is just broker tour on your phone or on your tablet or on your computer. It's the weekly tour. We have all the stuff that agents put on tour, and you'll log in. The first time you come in, you'll see this ability to customize your tour. And what that means is basically you can just pick the tours that you want to see, because you guys now have access to everything in MLS Listings. You can scroll down here, see if I can do it correctly, and you'll see everything, right? So there's Silvar, Santa Cruz. If you have a potential client in Monterey or Carmel or up in San Mateo, you can check those tours out as well. You don't have to log into MLS or search around for them. I'll keep it set on your tours here, which I think were yesterday, right? And we'll click over and just give you a look. So here is the tour sheet. If I had been really cool, I would have figured out who was going to be in the room and show up their listing today, but I couldn't quite get that together. But so this should look pretty familiar. There's nothing really groundbreaking about it. It's just tour on a device. It updates every 15 minutes. So you don't have to, you literally, you'll be up to date. Before you drive across town, check to see if it's maybe deleted. Before you tell your client about it, make sure it's not ratified, right? So this is what our list view looks like. As I just scroll down, you'll see this is straight from MLS as well, right? So there's no other data here to wonder what it is. You can see the address, the price. Over on the right-hand side, it's left-hand side, you see the listing agent's name, the brokerage. You'll see a little active badge, that's the status. There'll be pendings, contingents. And then you see the type badge, which is all the way over there. I think it should say SFR for single families, for condos, what have you. One of the neat features that we've just launched is I'm over on the little map icon, and you can click that. We'll allow the location. And so there's everything that was on tour yesterday. You can do it on your phone in the car when you pull over to the side of the street, of course, right? Or you can do it with your client, right? If you tour with your client and they don't, I don't know which way, do I go left or right? Which exit do I take? You can just do directions to these points, right? So that was everything on tour. You click them, you get a little bit of information there, and let's just go ahead and take a look at that one. So up it will load. And again, this looks great on a phone. We're looking on a laptop, so you can do this, if you're going to work for a little bit on Saturday or Sunday, as an agent, you're always doing anyway. You can start putting together your tour. You can start seeing what's on tour. Look at all the properties that are being listed. I scroll down. You have access to all the photos, right? And then I scroll down a little further here. There's a tour line. There's tour comments when it's open. If I wanted to get in touch with this listing agent and I was on my phone, I could just tap the number and I just call them directly. I could tap and hold the number. I could send them a text. Wait 5 minutes. I'm on my way. Please, I'm sending that couple. Take care of Don and Susie. You know, I can send an email. I can just click on that email address and send an email. When do those offers due? How many disclosures? Where do I get the pest disclosure, what have you? And then you scroll down a little bit further and you get the marketing remarks and the all-important agent-only comments, right? The lockbox code or when the offers are due. So that's on your phone, right? This is on this site. I'll go just a little bit further. So this is just all MLS info down here, right? Another cool feature is if you see that little plus with the circle, you click it, and this is the akin of what I used to do with the highlighter or the pen on the tour sheet, like, yeah, I'm gonna go see this one, right? And if you look at my tour up there, you see a little 1 there. I'm gonna go back to a couple more, add a few more here very quickly. You see that flash as I add them. We'll make it 5. And now this is my tour, the stuff you're gonna go see, right? So it's your customized list. This is saved. A lot of agents will do this on the laptop on Saturday, Sunday, and then grab the phone and go. They log in on their phone, and the 5 are already there. They can check their list. They can add a couple more. They can take one off. Really pretty straightforward. And then, of course, you can go back to the map, and that's my tour, right? Here's what my Wednesday is going to look like. So this is a free member benefit. It's really very light and simple. At this point, we do have, we're adding more features based on feedback from agents constantly. You know, we were agents, but I don't quite know how everybody tours down here. So it's very easy to get in touch with us. Up here in the little preferences thing, if you hit help, it basically goes to me. So you'll know who's emailing you back or texting you back or calling you back because it rings on my phone. So it's all about feedback. We want you guys to use it. We're a startup. 5-year startup, you guys are down here, so you know the deal on that. Overnight success, right? But this MLS Listings has been fantastic to work with. We're so excited to be rolled out in 8 associations. It's a big step for us. And really, we just want you guys to check it out, to use it, and tell us what to add next. And I think, I'll show one more little feature, I'm sorry. Close that. Probably a really powerful feature, right? I used to sit in front, it was BlackBerry days when I was doing it in San Francisco. But I'd see the house and you spend 20 minutes typing it up. In San Francisco, you then have 4 cars queued up behind you, people honking at you, get out of there, I gotta see that place and go to the next one. Here, you can just tap that little square with the triangle and you send your client, it's akin to the client detail reports that you'd send out to MLS. They get all the photos, they get the marketing remarks, they get upcoming open home times if they're there, and they get the listing brokerage, but not the listing agent name. And so you literally, you know, clients I don't think tend to get how hard you guys work for them. And you go out, tours are crazy days. So you can, I'm here right now, this kitchen is fantastic. The views are what you guys want. Call me tonight, check out the photos, right? And it's just easy. There's nothing rocket science about it. Pretty straightforward. So I know that was a speedy run through, but go to fieldplatform.com, make your account. Don't hesitate to get in touch. The association here has been super supportive. It should be pretty easy to get a hold of me if you have questions or you have trouble or you want to tell us what to add next. So thanks so much for the time and let me come down today.
Thank you and congratulations. You made it to the main event. Oh, and I'm so grateful to Anna at Wells Fargo because I thought I was going to be like Hillary, the only woman on the ticket this morning. So wonderful to see you all this morning. My name is Hilda Ramirez. I'm the Director of Professional Development here at SCORE, and one of my job responsibilities is to bring you the most current trends in the industry. So nothing could be more current than the Jobs Act that just passed in the last 2 weeks. And it's centered around crowdfunding. Now, if you are a resident of Silicon Valley, you should understand the definition of that term very easily. I've been following crowdfunding for a long time, and specifically crowdfunding as it plays to real estate. This is a wonderful opportunity. The Jobs Act that just passed will allow non-qualified investors to actually participate in crowdfunding. Now, a qualified investor is normally someone who has over $1 million in net worth and a $200,000 income. So even in cash-rich Silicon Valley, not everybody meets that criteria. So this is an excellent opportunity for the masses. And we're very fortunate this morning to have our guest speaker. He is the CEO and founder of Realty Shares. I really had hit the nail on the head when I found him online and asked him to talk on this subject. He graduated from UC Berkeley, go Bears, was valedictorian in 2010 for the School of Law. He has been a real estate attorney, and now his practice is centered around making deals happen and fundraising on his new platform. And I think this is really something that's going to take off on 2016. And as real estate practitioners, we need to be informed. So please give a big Santa Clara County welcome to Nav Notwal, CEO of Realty Shares. And he's techie, so he's using his Mac.
Thanks so much for that introduction. I'm going to see if I can plug in here. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, great to be here. Thanks so much for having me. Very excited to tell you a bit more about what we do with Realty Shares and crowdfunding, which is definitely the new buzzword. It appears with real estate as well as a lot of other verticals like startups and small businesses. But before diving in and telling you a bit more about what is crowdfunding, these new regulatory changes that have made crowdfunding accessible by anybody, not just accredited or high net worth investors, I want to first just introduce myself, and Hill did a great job, but I started my career as a broker, actually, before transitioning into law as a real estate attorney in San Francisco, worked on large institutional deals on behalf of Archstone, Avalon Bay, public-private REITs. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thought I just had a naturally loud voice, but I guess not. So started my career in the real estate world, but before that was an engineer. So this intersection of technology and real estate really appealed to me always. But the application had to be especially awesome for me to sort of quit my posh law job and do it full time. But that's how I kind of came to the real estate crowdfunding world, is really through experiences in both technology and real estate. And before telling you a bit more about Realty Shares and these regulatory changes that I think affect a lot of people in this room, I really want to take you through a history lesson of this concept of online lending, online fundraising, online investing, because I think it has caught on. I know E-Trade, Scottrade pioneered it for stocks, but it's gone much beyond just stocks to small businesses, to startups, to real estate. So 2006, 2007, we saw these platforms emerge. Lending Club, I'm sure a lot of you have heard of Lending Club, Prosper, OnDeck, SoFi. These platforms had humble beginnings. They started as true peer-to-peer platforms, meaning individual lenders that wanted to earn more return than they were earning in the bank were able to lend capital to individual borrowers that were looking for more efficient access to capital. And it really started with consumer credit. So someone was paying 15% to get credit card debt from a bank. A bank was paying deposits, 2-3%. Now it's below 1%. And this platform, Lending Club, came around and said, well, there has to be a better way for both borrowers to get credit at cheaper rates, especially if they have great FICO scores, and for lenders to earn more return than what banks are paying them for their deposits. So Lending Club did it for consumer credit. OnDeck did it for small business lending. SoFi did it for student lending. So these platforms emerged really to create more efficient capital, both from a pricing standpoint as well as from an access standpoint. If you fast forward 8 years later, these platforms have blown up. Lending Club has now done over $12 billion of originations. SoFi just raised $1 billion on a $3 billion market cap. OnDeck went public. Lending Club went public. These platforms went from these humble beginnings as true peer-to-peer online platforms, a way for individuals to connect with one another, get better access to capital, get better access to returns, to a massive phenomenon that's happening in the online lending space and the lending space in general. So, what caused these platforms to really take off? I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, but because of the early success of these platforms, you saw it blow up across many verticals. You saw it go from just consumer small business loans to actually coming into, again, bigger way in student loans, and finally real estate, which is obviously the aspect I'm most excited about. Real estate is really the last vertical to come into this online lending, online fundraising space, but I think has the potential to be the biggest just given the size of the market. So, you now have online lenders providing access to capital for everything from startups to real estate to student loans to consumer credit, doing it more quickly than banks, no offense to any bankers in here, and doing it oftentimes more cheaply than banks are currently providing. So, what really spawned this hyper growth from true peer-to-peer to over 12 billion of originations and 2 billion of originations a month from lending, a quarter from Lending Club, and 5 billion of originations every quarter from all the platforms combined. That's big numbers. It really was the Great Recession. So, obviously sounds a little counterintuitive, but the Great Recession, I think, spawned two things. One is it tightened credit quite a bit, right? You saw a lot of the loose lending standards in 2007, 2006 that sort of led to some of the subprime meltdown started dissipating, right? Dodd-Frank was enacted, made it much harder for consumers to get credit, for banks to lend, made them even less efficient than they were before. So one aspect was just really borrowers had less efficient access to credit. That was one aspect. So obviously, borrowers were looking for other means to get credit. They had to still pay their bills. Small businesses still had to pay inventory costs, et cetera. So they turned to online lending platforms that were starting to emerge as a real way to raise capital. The second thing that I think spawned this phenomenon is coming into historically low interest rate environment and low treasury yield environment. You saw a lot of investors looking for yield and turning to different ways to do it, right? I mean, earning less than 0.5% in the bank account, earning less than 2% in a treasury, just didn't make sense for a lot of investors, both on the individual sphere, but also on the institutional sphere. So a lot of the growth was spawned by those two things coming out of the Great Recession: tighter credit and low yields. And so you saw this true peer-to-peer lending environment of individual borrowers, individual lenders turn into what is now online marketplace lending, which is institutional investors. Now 70 to 80% of all the capital that's being borrowed is coming from institutions, hedge funds, pension funds, insurance companies. Lending Club is 70% institutional with respect to capital. So these institutions waited. They waited 2-3 years, saw historical data on performance from a lot of these online lenders, saw this new efficient way to provide capital to a tranche of borrowers that had good credit or had a good business practices, and came in droves to now take this true peer-to-peer platform into what is now one of the biggest phenomenons in online investment lending. So I think that's really what spawned some of this hyper growth. But if you think about the markets these startups are tackling, they're massive, right? Consumer debt is $3 trillion. Small businesses are a big part of the economy. Real estate is over $30 trillion in total market cap. So there's still a long ways to go. I mean, great beginnings, humble beginnings, a little bit of traction with the institutions. Doing 2 billion of loans a quarter is no small feat, but there's still a lot of room to grow because of the massive market opportunity within each of these verticals, from student loans to consumer to small business and now real estate. And so, obviously what that does, and we're all here in Silicon Valley, so I think tech is especially relevant to us, is it attracts VCs, right? I think VCs really look for a few things. They look for a big market, a business, a proposition that's truly disruptive, and a good founding team and good execution. Realty Shares, for example, has raised 12 billion of venture capital from VCs in Silicon Valley, but combined, these platforms have raised billions of venture capital. But this phenomenon of VC funding isn't limited just to online lending. If you think about just the real estate market and real estate technology companies, we just saw one here with Theo platform. There has been a lot of traction in real estate generally. Real estate has been slow to change. We're seeing new technologies come to change various aspects of it. Airbnb, you see Trulia and Zillow that merged later last year. So you're seeing a lot of VC interest in this new sort of real estate technology phenomenon. And there's a small story that I've heard from a lot of VC circles that I think kind of sums it up. You know, you have a VC, he gets up in the morning, turns his alarm clock off, realizes he's in his home or his apartment, gets in the shower, gets ready for work, drives to his office, realizes he's in an office building, and then goes to get a burger or a sandwich and realizes he's in a retail center. So, you know, VCC, this, you know, real estate's a big part of their life. So there has to be something to this disruption of real estate, and if technology can really provide efficiency in what is a otherwise massive market, there's a lot of opportunity. So, you know, last year we saw over 300 million of VC capital go into real estate technology companies early stage in a single quarter, and I think we'll see that continue. So it's really interesting just seeing what's happening in the online lending and real estate technology, online financial technology space. I think we'll continue to see it grow as efficiency becomes more relevant to borrowers, lenders, returns become relevant to lenders. So I'm very excited to be part of the phenomenon. So just shifting gears a little bit and telling you a bit more about what we do at Realty Shares, and I'll keep this portion relatively quick, but I think it's relevant to a lot of you in the room because we do work with brokers. So the reason I started the company again is one, passion for real estate and technology. But two is sort of pain points I experienced myself. So in 2010, which is a great time to buy, as most of you know, started buying real estate. And the hardest part about getting deals done in that market was capital. Right? We came out of a very loose lending environment to one that was one of the tightest environments we've seen in history. And so went to a couple banks, tried to get financing for small commercial properties and single family homes. And either it just took way too long or it just didn't end up working. So, 6 months later, still didn't get a mortgage. And, we do both debt and equity capital formation. So on the equity side, even harder, especially for deal sizes that are, $20, $30 million in total market cap or less. At the same time, working at the law firm, had a lot of friends and colleagues who were looking for yield, looking for diversification away from just public equities. And real estate for them was a no-brainer. So we're thinking about how to sort of access this massive asset class, really didn't know how to do it. So connecting these two stakeholders is really what we do at Realty Shares. We provide borrowers that are looking for debt or equity capital for investment properties. We're not doing owner-occupied, but for single family, multifamily, retail office, all the major food groups looking for more efficient capital. We're providing them capital through investors that want to invest in their properties, mostly individuals, some institutional investors. So really providing efficiency in the real estate capital markets is what we do. For an investor, the minimum is $5,000. We are today limited to accredited investors, but I will talk a little bit about how that can shift over the next 6 to 12 months. And in terms of, just I think the unique proposition that crowdfunding for real estate provides, and then obviously our platform, Realty Shares, is really speed and access. So on average, we're able to provide capital in as little as 6.2 days. That's an average across all the product types. So it's very quick. Borrowers come online, get approved, and can raise capital from investors that want to be part of their deal relatively quickly. And again, just the product types we focus on, both residential and commercial. Residential, most of our product is short-term bridge loans, stuff you see with hard money lenders. Very quick process there, 10 to 14 days. And then on commercial, mostly retail and multifamily. And there we're providing mostly equity capital. So the sponsor has a loan already and they're looking to raise $1 million of equity. That's where we kind of come in. And just our growth in general, again, I said we were funded by $12 million of VC investments from General Catalyst and Menlo Ventures. And what I think is really exciting is the same phenomenon that took shape for P2P lenders is happening for the real estate space. Once you start providing this access, you get really good borrowers on the platform. You start attracting larger capital sources. So we've seen institutional capital, family offices, RIAs very interested in putting money through the platform. And as our ability to lend and provide capital increases, it also allows us to service our borrowers better. In terms of how the platform works, a two-sided marketplace where we connect investors and borrowers. This is true for most crowdfunding platforms out there. So you have borrowers that come online, get pre-qualified, typically within 24 hours, and then can list their deals on the platform. And then investors go through a qualification as well today. As Hilda alluded to, today it's accredited investors only, but we will see that change. So it's a very simple process where we connect the two stakeholders and allow them to transact more efficiently than they would offline. This is just a quick highlight of what the sort of the borrower process is. A lot of our referrals today are actually coming from brokers. We work with brokers that want to get access to quicker capital for their clients, pay them a referral fee, allow them to tack on a point to the origination. So a lot of brokers we work with we work with brokers very well, as other borrowers, online marketing channels. So we do see a lot of borrower appetite in the platform and getting capital more quickly. So this is just a quick high level there. I'm going to skip over this slide. The other, I think, benefit is, we can play multiple parts of the capital stack. A lot of crowdfunding platforms, I think that a big benefit they bring is flexibility, right? They're not as regulated. They don't have the same sort of limitations as traditional lending institutions. So you're able to provide debt capital, equity capital to a broader range of deals than, you can get from your local bank or even some of the big institutional banks. So we can provide senior bridge loans, mezz loans, as well as preferred and common equity. So now shifting quickly to crowdfunding, because I talked a little bit in the beginning about online lending, which is a little different, but not dissimilar. So crowdfunding, and I think we're raising money for a great cause through crowdfunding. That was really where it got its start, is sort of donation and rewards-based crowdfunding. There's a small story I want to tell everyone in this room, because I think it highlights why equity investment crowdfunding is so important to the ecosystem. So there's a company called Oculus Rift that raised about $2.4 million from Kickstarter. Most of you probably have heard of Kickstarter. They're one of the biggest crowdfunders out there. I think there was close to 10,000 backers putting anywhere from $10 up to a couple $100 to buy this virtual headset. Some of them put in $10, $20, and all they got was a T-shirt or some kind of name recognition. But depending on your donation, you got anywhere from a T-shirt to a actual prototype of the headset. A year and a half later, Oculus was purchased by Facebook for $2 billion. So if those backers were actually investing in Oculus rather than donating money, they were going to be pretty rich people, which I was one of them. So it kind of highlighted to a lot of people that, look, there's some great causes to donate to, and people obviously donate to great causes, and we're seeing one here today. But there's also a need to provide better access to private deals to a broader set of the public, right? Because even if you think about just accredited investors, even accredited investors, the threshold, especially if you think about where we're sitting today, isn't that high. It's income of $200K or more a year, or a net worth of $1 million. So even accredited investors, especially those that are on the lower echelon of accredited, have difficulty accessing deals where they can make 40, 50, 100x on their money through like a platform like Kickstarter or Oculus Rift. So, I think what this spawned, examples of this spawn, is how do we let the general public, broader set of the public, get involved with promising companies, with promising investments that otherwise they don't have access to. And so that kicked off what we know as the Jobs Act. The Jobs Act, passed into law in April of 2012, had two operable provisions. It had multiple titles, but the two I'll talk about is Title II and Title III, that really, I think, have the potential to make a game-changing impact on how fundraising is conducted online and how investments are made online. So if you kind of go back in history to the Great Depression and the enactment of the Securities Act in 1933, that's really what regulates the offering of private securities on or offline to the mass public. So, typically, Facebook, when they wanted to go public, they had to go through initial public offering, takes a lot of time, costs a lot of money. But once you do that, you can sell your securities to anybody, not just accredited investors. And there are some exemptions, obviously, to the 1933 Act that allow you to sell securities without going through that very expensive, time-consuming process, but they limit who you can sell to accredited investors with some small exceptions. So one of the most widely used for real estate private companies is Reg D Rule 506D. And that says you can raise capital, unlimited amounts of capital, without going through initial public offering, but you must only sell to accredited investors in a limited number of non-accreds, which most companies don't use. So fast forward to the Jobs Act, and the reason why it was game-changing was two things. One is it actually, and the other restriction for Reg D Rule 506 is it has to be a private offering. You can't actually put a billboard or market it on Facebook or offline. You can only sell it to people you have a pre-existing relationship with, people in your network, the old country club model of raising capital. But what Title II did, and Title II is actually in effect, is it said Well, you're still only going to be selling to accredited investors, but you can actually go public with your offering. You can put it on Facebook. You can, put it on the back of a car on a bumper sticker. It doesn't matter. You can actually mass advertise your offering, but ultimately only accredited investors can participate. So sort of game changing, sort of limiting, because you still don't change who can invest, although you change how you can publicize those offerings. Title II is actually starting to be used by a lot of online crowdfunding platforms, and we've seen them emerge for startups, small businesses, real estate, obviously, through our platform and others. And so Title II is game changing in that now you can actually use the internet more effectively to market your offerings, whether they be real estate or small businesses or startups. But the real game changer was Title III. So Title III, what it said was, look, usually when you want to sell to accredited investors, you have to go through this very time-consuming, lengthy process, very expensive. But we're going to let you, with Title III, we're going to let you sell to accredited and non-accredited investors with limitations I'll talk about in a minute, for the first time, without having to go through an initial public offering. So that is game-changing because you no longer have to actually go public to sell to the public. The reason why it's 2012 was when it was actually created, but the reason why 2 weeks is what Hilda kind of alluded to in terms of timing is it was subject to SEC rulemaking. So under agency law, and this is kind of going back to law school, but when you are within the purview of an agency, even if you pass a law, you are still subject to rulemaking by the agency responsible for enforcing those laws. So the SEC was the agency we waited on. It was supposed to go into effect in January of 2013. Fast forward 2.5 years later, and it's finally, or 2 years later, and it's finally now becoming a reality. So, but even though it seems like it's a game changer and it has potential to affect how we raise capital, how we invest, there are important limitations that I think everyone in this room should know about if there is an interest in using this as a way to raise capital or invest. One is you can only raise up to $1 million per year from this vehicle. So for real estate, where especially in Silicon Valley, where an average home is pretty expensive, it's hard to sort of fathom how we're going to use crowdfunding with non-accredited investors as a way to really shape how we raise capital for real estate. But for smaller fundraisers like startups or even small businesses, it could be a workable solution. The second thing is, the government's very paternalistic, so they want to obviously watch how much you're investing. So they do limit how much you can invest in crowdfunding if you're a non-accredited investor. So if you're making less than $100,000, you can invest up to $2,000 or 5%, the greater of up to 2% of your income, 5% of your income or $2,000. If you make between $100,000 and $200,000, it's up to 10% of your net worth or income. And if you make above $200K, that's the sort of the ambiguous line of you can invest whatever you want to invest. So again, limiting in some ways, but I think it is the first step towards potentially game-changing in shifting how we raise capital online. We're definitely excited. It won't go into effect until January, but the rules have been passed, and I think it's going to shift how we all raise capital and invest, and has the potential to lead to new rules that make it less limiting on how we raise capital. So I know I'm kind of running towards the end of my time, so I wanted to share a few stats with the room just to kind of give you a sense of I think where this industry is headed. Crowdfunding is online capital through crowdfunding is going to approach about $30 billion in 2016 across all the verticals: donation, rewards, real estate, small business, online lending. So, if you think about the start of these platforms, 7-10 years ago, when they were responsible for maybe raising 10, 15, 20 million, and you fast forward, 7 to 10 years later, and you're talking about billions of dollars of capital formation online. I think that's a pretty massive shift, and I think we'll see that continue as just the laws change, as public sentiment changes in how we raise capital and fund different types of investments. The other thing I think that's causing this shift is just millennials. That word's been thrown around a lot. What are millennials? There's a wide age gap. They actually have a pretty negative sentiment towards traditional financing and traditional institutions. So some stats that were recently published in a report about online lending: 7 out of 10 millennials would rather go to the dentist than go to a bank. So I mean that's kind of A third think that a bank is just not needed at all. So, just get rid of the banks and we'll just figure out how we get our money. These are real stats. I'm not making them up. A half wish and hope that startups will overhaul banking. So they will come in and disrupt banking in some way. And 3/4 are much more excited if new financial services are created by a technology company rather than a bank. So you see that with efficiency, with a lot of these online lenders, and just the changing sentiment about banks, it's no surprise that we're seeing this growth, and I think we'll see it continue. So with that, I think if there's time for questions, I'm happy to take them, and I appreciate you listening.
So some of these deals can be very sophisticated. How does your platform, you have to underwrite the deals to some level. And if you have a really sophisticated deal, where do you get the people to do that?
So a lot of our team, so we're about 34 people right now. Most of that team, about a third of that, is dedicated to underwriting and credit review. So we actually do look at each deal. A lot of it at the top of the funnel. So I think I showed the funnel here.
I was going to ask about the funnel.
Yeah. So it depends for resi and commercial. For resi loans that we do, we can be done and funded within 10 to 14 days because these are all very similar sort of bridge loans. For commercial, it can take up to 30 to 35 days all in. Obviously, we do repeat business, so each time it gets quicker. We've done commercial deals with repeat operators in as little as 2 weeks. And so, the funnel looks like this, and we don't really involve. So steps 1, 2, and 3 of the funnel are pretty automated. We're just comparing standard inputs to our just general threshold parameters. It really gets nitty and gritty in the fourth and fifth steps. So that's where the credit team and underwriting team gets involved. And we have people from BlackRock, Blackstone, Colony, just a lot of firms that have massive amounts of experience in real estate helping us review those deals.
What do you consider a good sized commercial deal?
Average, our deals are anywhere from the smallest commercial deal we've done was like $1 million. It was a small, like 5 plex. The largest was about $30 million.
30 in value?
In value, yeah. So the equity check would have been, $5 million or a little higher. But 10 million is kind of around the range where we like to do most of our business. That's trending upwards as our liquidity increases, though.
So a few questions. How would I, as an investor in let's say a 30-unit apartment building, vet it myself? Is there any vetting that I could do to feel comfortable with the deal? And then how do I get status of how the project's coming along or not? And then if I do lose my money, how does that work?
As an investor, if you create an account with us at realtyshares.com and we verify your accreditation because we are limited credit investors today, you actually have access to a page where you can see all the active deals. If you click on one of those deals, you have access to a deal page. So there you'll see financial data, an appraisal, typically a borrower's information, their track record, information on the property, the location. So we do have dedicated deal pages where you can get comfortable with the deal as an investor. And then we also give you an investor dashboard where you get updates. Your earnings are directly deposited into your bank account every month or quarter through ACH. You get a end of year K1 or 1099. You get your legal documents from that dashboard. So we try to make it as painless as possible for the investor to do this without having to sort of go out and see the property, because that wouldn't really make sense for a $5,000 check. And then how you lose money. It's an investment. There's risk, obviously. Some deals are less risky. To date, we've done, again, over $100 million through the platform of capital raised, most of that in the last 12 months. We've paid back about $12 million of principal capital, no losses, and an average return of north of 15%. We're in a good part of the real estate cycle, though, so I don't want that disclaimer out there. And we do a lot of deals outside of California. We do deals in Texas and in Chicago and Florida, some deals in Phoenix. We do deals in Los Angeles. So, there's risk. You can lose your money. Obviously, the curation is meant to prevent fraud and outsized risk, but there's risk, so there's no guarantee.
I wanted to know, I didn't see any information regarding your shares, realty shares. Where is it?
I didn't bring any documents with me, but if you go to realtyshares.com, all the information will be there. I apologize for not bringing it up.
Can I see your slides so those who registered?
Sure.
Okay, perfect. We'll get that information out to you.
And I also have flyers I can send that are sort of a little bit less lengthy than this slide deck.
So these are loans that you do, so are these have an early call, is it a 30-year, 5-year call, 10-year? What's the?
So all the loans we're doing today on the single family side are bridge, so they're very short term. They're 12-month, 6 or 12-month loans. We're rolling out a 30-year product for investment loans. We're not, again, doing consumer owner occupied. So they're 6 or 12 months, depending on risk scoring. The interest rate can be anywhere from 8 to 11% for a short duration. Again, we can fund it usually in 10 to 14 days all in. We like repeat business, so we'd love borrowers use this 10 times. So yeah, that's the lending product today, but it's evolving.
Did you have a yield, average or ratio paying on these?
Yeah, on the debt, it's an average of about 9 to 9.5% on the short-term bridge loans. On the equity deals, we're typically looking for IRRs that are sort of in the mid-teens. It really depends on the market, though, so it will evolve from market to market. Usually, we're looking for a borrower that's done at least a few of these transactions, and we can sort of help them scale if they need it.
What's the term for the GP/LP side?
So the GP, we're typically looking for a 10% net co-invest.
2 years, 1 year?
For the LP equity, we can go up to like 5 to 7 years. Yeah. No, not for that's for the bridge loans. So for the equity, we're typically
Can you do that in combination?
Both debt and equity.
Yeah.
We actually just rolled out that capability. So if you bring us a deal, it's an apartment building, you want to get low interest paper for the debt component up to 70 or 80%, and you want to raise equity, we can do that. Yeah, we can do that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
I'm going to be available in the back if they have a couple more questions there.
Unfortunately, do have to go, but my email, nav@realtyshares.com. If you have deals that you want to submit on behalf of clients that want to get funded, brokers@realtyshares.com. Again, we do have a referral program that pays out if you have clients that successfully raise on the platform. But thanks again. I really appreciate being here.
All right. Thank you.
Just a couple of quick announcements, and we're going to get you out of here on time. I totally promise you that. Check your inbox in the next day or two. One, we're going to have our dues billing coming out for 2016. The second one is we're going to be sending a bylaw amendment, and we need your vote on that to make that official. And then I also want to invite you all December 3rd to our holiday event. It's at the Capitol Club. It's from 4 to 7. We handed out these flyers. If you could RSVP, it's going to be a great event. It's a great way to end up the year. It's also a fun way to raise a whole bunch of money for CAFA, which is the foster parents. So it's just a great event if you haven't gone before. And then lastly, I want to thank my team, my staff here. I can't do anything without our team. Hilda put on a wonderful program today. I got Leonard sitting there live broadcasting this, Roman's in the back doing all the digital creative and so forth, and the team in general is just a fabulous team staff that we have to work with here. And then likewise, I also want to thank my board of directors and, of course, our president this year, Craig Gorman, for a fabulous year. And on January 22nd, we get to install a new board of directors and new officers, and our president for 2016 is going to be Miss Tricia Motter. So please come and join us for the installation. 120th year celebration. We're the oldest association in California. So thank you very much. Have a great day and do a ton of business this holiday season.